I think back to some of my first experiences in gaming, few memories bring me as much joy as the PlayStation 2 era. This console had amazing games that paved the way for future developers and spawned entire genres of games. The fact that the PlayStation 2 lasted so long gave developers the chance to really push hardware to its limits and create amazing experiences that no console had brought before. But within that library filled with blockbuster hits, there lies a mine of hidden gems that never quite got the recognition they deserved. Whether this is attributed to the fact that the PlayStation 2 boasted a library of over 4,000 games, or that there were less people roaming the internet looking for obscure game reviews, and we relied more on word of mouth from friends, I'm not entirely sure. But today I'd like to talk about one game that I feel deserves to be in the list of must-play PS2 classics, the Mark of Kri. The Mark of Kri was released in July 2002, published by Sony Computer Entertainment and developed by San Diego Studios. Kingdom Hearts, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Medal of Honor Frontline, plus many more popular classics would also release this same year, so the competition was rough. Despite this, the Mark of Kri launched to decent reviews, like a score of 8.5 out of 10, and receiving the Game of the Month award from an August 2002 issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly. Even Famitsu gave it a score of 32 out of 40 in Japan. But despite the positive press, the competition left the Mark of Kri with a smaller but loyal cult following of players, and it eventually slipped into obscurity after a less successful sequel in 2003. The story revolves around a warrior named Rao and his adventures. Starting small with saving local traders from bandits and clearing out old decrepit ruins, Rao eventually discovers his destiny is to become a legendary hero with songs sung in his name. Rao faces these challenges head-on using training learned from his mentor Bamutsu and aided by his raven and spirit guide Kuzo. Rao finds himself in a battle for not only his own fate, but that of the world, and to overcome this challenge he will face enemies that come in all shapes and sizes, from lowly bandits and freaky cultists to hordes of zombies and evil sorcerers. You could call it the classic hero's journey, and I think it fits perfectly for the style of this game, with just enough to keep you moving through the levels without bogging you down with too many cutscenes or too much dialogue. Gameplay in the Mark of Kri revolves mostly around melee combat. Using a great action targeting system, you can mark and lock onto enemies, giving you the options to block, strafe, and use different combos depending on your weapon. You'll be fighting multiple enemies at once, sometimes up to 10 or more. This is a great fluid combat system that really holds up today, though sometimes it can feel a bit unfair getting stun locked. You'll start to learn things like keeping an eye on your distance to enemies depending on your weapon, and theirs helps. You'll also get a bow, mostly used for puzzles, but it can come in handy when clearing out enemies at a distance or staying quiet. The game features 3 different types of melee weapons, with various effective ranges, and each providing unique combos. The Mark of Kri also features an entire stealth system, with special kills depending on the situation and environment. Along with the combat, you'll also face a few basic puzzles, and be able to use Kuzo's help to reach levers, perches, and even be able to see through his eyes to help you stay hidden or tactically face the dangers ahead. One of the greatest parts about this game is the graphics. The use of cell shading really helps in this game to hold up in visuals. It has an almost cartoonish vibe to the characters and environments, but don't let that lull you into a false sense of security, as the gore is pretty intense. There's a lot of different stealth kill animations and finishing executions that are really entertaining. The cutscenes in the game are hand-drawn and beautifully painted. The art team consisted of mostly 2D animators, which gave the game a very unique visual style that's unlike anything I've seen since. The music and sound effects in the game are nice and crisp. Swords and impacts sound meaty, enemies scream and yell when they're fighting you, and your weapons will even clang off walls and get lodged into wood. The game featured an adaptive music system with techniques that keeps the soundtrack of heavy tribal-sounding drums moving and changing as you encounter different situations. If you're looking for a few hours of non-stop action, fluid controls, and unique visuals, with a few puzzles thrown in, and you don't want to be slowed down by too much story, I'd recommend checking out the Mark of Kri.